First things first, Myles. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to be here. It's a lovely day.
Okay.
Wonderful day.
Very good to hear. What I want to start with is you played in a jazz band when you were younger.
Yeah.
Of that time, is there still anything you use in your playing now?
Yeah, quite a bit actually.
Okay.
Yeah. I started off, I actually played trumpet in jazz bands, you know, the actual like big band in junior high and high school, and that kind of got me, it's kind of what initially turned me on to jazz. And then as a guitar player, when I started to really try and get more technically proficient, I remember spending quite a bit of time in kind of the jazz fusion realm. So I listened to a lot of guys, like this cat named Mike Stern. He was a really big influence on me. He played with Miles Davis at one point. I could go on forever. But anyways, what I loved was some of these guys' ability to integrate the rock feel and fire with the jazz language. And by jazz language, what I mean is the ability to spell out the changes, because that's a big part of the jazz approach. Is you don't just use one scale or mode. You touch on the chord tones, and so that's something that I've definitely taken into my rock approach, and did it quite a bit on the last record, as a matter of fact, with the solos that I played.
Yeah, well, what I read about the solos is that for the first time you kind of planned them out in advance. So how did it work?
Yeah, I mean, I'd play. It wasn't when I think about it, it wasn't that actually the very first time. I remember on Blackbird, on the actual Blackbird solo, I had a pretty good idea where I was going with that solo at the beginning. But then, you know, with this record, because I finished the lyrics faster than usual, I was able to go back from the studio every night, and I had free time, and I didn't want to just sit around and eat chips and watch TV. So I was like, you know, I think I'm gonna have a game plan for when I start tracking these leads, and basically compose the leads. And much like, you know, Mark's been doing that for years. That's how he doesn't improvise as much. And so it was fun. And I'm really glad I did that. I'm real happy with the solos, how they turned out.
Yeah, did it change how the solos turned out? Can you hear it now, the difference?
Yeah, you can definitely hear that I'm using some musical passages that aren't my usual go-to if I'm improvising. Because when you're improvising, you kind of have your group of concepts and licks that you go to, that you know you're going to land on your feet with. If you plan it out, you can go places and do things because you know you're going to rehearse them over and over, and you don't have to worry about, you know, screwing up.
Okay. And well, it's interesting because you said you were done with the lyrics quite quickly. How come?
I think because it was the lyric writing process was very inspired, and because of there was so much going on in the world around us. It was so loud, and we were just being bombarded with it, that it was hard not to be inspired and to have things to have the emotions come through on the songs and with words. So that was kind of nice, because a lot of times lyrics are, you know, I love writing lyrics, but I also can't stand writing lyrics because it's, to me, the hardest part of the whole process. The fun part is the genesis of, you know, sitting down with the guitar and coming up with a riff or a melody or whatever. That's fun, but the lyric thing is you have to complete that.
Well, what makes lyrics so hard then? Is it being confident in what you're saying, or satisfied with what you're saying, or the phrasing even?
Yeah, you know what it is? It's knowing that what you're writing you believe in, and that you can sing with conviction. If you're just for me, if I'm just writing something that's like, yeah, this rhymes, this works, I'm going to use, you know, a word that sounds cool here, but if I don't connect with that in some way, I don't feel some emotion, then it's the listener's going to know it.
So, like you say, this year and the past year, there has been a lot going on in the world, not all very good. So, were there things in particular that kind of sparked your creativity?
Yeah, there were just a number of things. I mean, there was obviously back in the States, we're in an election cycle, so there was a lot going on there, which certainly got people talking, and so you listen to those conversations, or you listen to certain things on the news and get an idea. And then there were things in my life that were going on. There's a song called "Cradle to the Grave," which was basically inspired by something that was going on with my mother-in-law. Okay. She fell ill, so that was a tough time. But the lyric, that's where the lyric came from. There was a lot going on to draw from. And
well, you mentioned the election cycle, and then I assume this kind of refers to the rise of Donald Trump, and the album is called "The Last Hero." So what is kind of the idea of this, that we need a person or an idol or a hero to kind of follow, but yet we have these people like Trump? And
I think that the record takes a look. It definitely takes a look at the whole hero concept, and I think that without getting, the trick was not to get too directly political and looking at it like, oh, we got this candidate, and I'm for this candidate, or I'm not for this candidate, because all that does is piss people off.
Sure.
But if everybody's feeling passionate about what they're seeing and questioning what they're seeing, or whatever that emotion is, then what we try and do, or at least what I try to do as a lyricist, is touch on those emotions and spit that out. And one of the key emotions that a lot of people seem to be feeling right now is a certain amount of they're disillusioned for whatever reason. So that's a pretty honest, universal feeling, and we went with it and decided not to be afraid of the fact that it's dancing around this subject matter, which people keep saying, oh, you made a political record. Well, not really. I mean, we made a record that was inspired by political events, but it's not, when I think of political record, that'd be like, okay, we have our agenda, you should think this way, you should vote this way. It's not my business how somebody does that. I'm gonna leave that for other artists. But it is my business to react to certain emotions.
Well, an interesting thing about this is, well, obviously you have an audience. So, and I think responsibility is far too great a word, but does that carry weight when you write lyrics?
I think there is a certain responsibility. There's a responsibility to be aware that music is very powerful, and that the things you say in your lyrics can do things for or to people.
Sure.
And so I guess my feeling is try and touch on things that make people think, but also try and touch on things that help people and bring a certain maybe solace, maybe certain joy, maybe growth. I don't know, but I would hope that it's at the end of the day that it's positive. We're not about writing songs that are like, screw you and you suck. That's just, we don't want to do that. That's not using the responsibility that you have with music appropriately for us.